And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Giza the Great Pyramid! Oh, joy. No, it's not that. When I saw this theme, I thought, really? Another Egyptian pyramid-style game? Ancient Egypt game? Then I opened up the game and I saw plastic pyramid pieces inside. Well, that's a little better. That's something I'm certainly interested in trying out. So I was very intrigued to see how this game would work. And the game actually, well, I'm giving my thoughts before I show you how to play the game. But I thought it was a pretty cool little game. So let's take a look at it, and then I'll be back. So here's the game board, and you can see that the bottom 4 pieces of the pyramid are ready to be moved on their sleds to the end here. And as they're moved down to the end, then they'll be put into the pyramid shape, and they actually will attach together. And then later on, the next pieces will be put, and they'll be put on top. And once they're in position, then the final piece will be placed on top of that to form the pyramid. But before all that happens, we have to get them there. And so at the beginning of the game, players are going to take a bunch of workers that they have and place them in different areas. They can place them down here to get food, to farm and fish. They can place them here to be priests where they're praying to Ra. They can place them over here where they'll be artists. They can place them over here in these 2 sections where they will help lift the upper sections of the pyramid into place. And they can place them on the sleds themselves to help move those pyramid pieces down. And then players also, if you notice, have a pile of pieces over here, and this is used for the turn order part of the game. So let's focus a little bit more on that section right there. At the beginning of each turn, players are going to, starting at the beginning, you pick one player, and he's going to place his marker on any of these sections here. Then another player will put his, another player will put his, another player, the last player will put his. And then next turn, the red player picks first where he goes. And you can never put it where someone else has one, and you can also never put it in the same row that you've put it before. So red puts one there, gray, the tan guy puts one here, then the blue person puts one here, and then the brown, he goes down here. And once all 5 sections are completed, you'll wipe the board, and then you'll start the next 5 turns. There's only 10 turns in the game, so this will happen twice. The way that these are put on the board will determine turn order for the round. So, for example, here red goes first, then brown, then tan, then blue. But also, where you put them will give you a bonus or even perhaps something negative. For example, here, this lets you take the art action twice in your turn. This lets you farm twice, but you can't fish. This doesn't let you fish, this lets you fish twice, but you can't farm. This gives you no bonus, but at the same time, there's a better chance of you going first. These give you an instant move, and you can move one of your workers that are down here around on the board. And so that's how the beginning of the game takes place. After turn order has been decided and any bonuses of movement go along, then each player has actions that they can take on their turn. And you'll have different actions depending on where your people are. If you are down here in the food section, you're going to need a lot of food. Food is represented by these markers. And here I want to stop and say that I was a little disappointed. The quality of this game is really not up to snuff for Mayfair, I thought, because the backs of all these are white, which is no big deal, really, except, they're all constantly flipping over, and you constantly have to flipping the tiles back over. It would have been nice that they'd been double-sided, but what have you. So you have 1s and 5s of foods. When you farm, you get 1 food for each worker. So if red farmed right now, red would get 6 food. If you fish, you get half the food for your worker. So if red fished, red would get 3. And you say, well, why would you ever fish? Well, because you could only do each action once. So you can farm and fish. Red could farm and fish and get 9 food. You can't farm twice unless you took the bonus up here that lets you farm twice, which is the last position. You can also use your artists over here to get art. And art is round red tokens. And I will give the quality components this. The food is square, the art is round, so it's easy to differentiate between the two of them. But you get art. The problem is when you get art, you have to pay these guys food. So if I take 2 art, I need to pay 2 food. If I have 4 workers there and take 4 art, then I would need to pay 4 food for my art. Another action you can take is you can move these people back and forth amongst these 3 support camps. You can also move people onto one of the pyramid pieces. If you're on a pyramid piece, you can move up the track. So you can get up here to the lifting area. And so you can move people around. So those are basically the different actions that you can take on your turn. At the end of your turn, if it's possible for one of the pyramid pieces to move, you must nominate one of them to move. A pyramid piece needs at least 3 people on it. So we can see here that this pyramid piece is ready to go. So at the end of my turn, I would have to nominate it even if I didn't want it to move. When that happens, each person who has a worker on there, and there can be up to 4 workers, must bid money, or food, food, and they can bid 0 to 2 food for each worker they have on there. So in this case, let's say blue had 2 workers on here. Blue can bid up to 4 food, although blue can also bid 0 food. Red can bid from 0 to 2, and brown can bid from 0 to 2. Everybody reveals all the food that they have bid, and then we look at this little chart to show what will happen. If you bid 0 to 3 food, nothing happens. In fact, someone's going to starve. The person who sends the least food is going to lose someone, and that person's going to have to go back to the food section on the board. If you bid 4 to 5, this pyramid will move once. 6 to 7, it will move 2 spaces, and if you bid 8 food, it will move 3 spaces. Now, sometimes you will bid no food at all, so that the pyramid does not move. Other times you will bid a lot of food. So there's a little bit of, maybe negotiation. How much food are you going to bid? These base pieces, once they're moved 1 space beyond here, they will come up here as part of the pyramid. When this happens, there's a couple things. First of all, there is scoring. The scoring is going to take place as to whoever had the most workers on the pyramid piece that was moved in, and those players are going to get 6 points and 3 points and then 1 point for the workers that are sent moving that pyramid in. Also, when 2 pyramids come and form a row up here in the top section, at that point we're going to decorate the pyramid. Yay, it's so pretty. Everyone is going to bid art that they have collected so far, and the player who bids the most art is going to get points, and then 2nd points, and their 3rd points. Then, when a whole section of the pyramid is finished, like thus, at that point, anybody who has priests down here is going to get points, and again, you get points for having the most, 2nd most, and 3rd most priests. And you also get points as these lifters move the 2nd area stuff into play. As they lift it up, whoever has the most workers over here, and workers use food to lift up, just like these guys move the sleds, then they'll get points also. Although the top piece gets you much more points than the other pieces. Once workers here get their points, the sled is returned, you put another piece on, and the workers are scattered to you can pick wherever you want your workers to go, except back on the quarry. You have to move them there later on other turns. And so, you're going to keep doing this. In the 2nd round, there's a little marker that will be placed on top of over here so that it lets you move the litter a little bit farther, a little bit faster as the 2nd time goes by. And players are going to keep working hard, and the game will end either after 10 turns or when the pyramid is built. Although in my experience, they're very, very close to being around the same time. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner, and you keep track of points down here. Alright, so Giza, it's a game that, I didn't think there was much in it when I first played it, but I really found myself enjoying it as time went by. The auctioning of art is okay, but it's the auctioning of food that's so interesting, because you have a guy in a pyramid, and another guy has a guy in a pyramid, and you're both sitting there saying, look, you need to give food, and I'm like, I don't want to sacrifice my food to move this, but I do want to get it moved. And so you argue back and forth, and then nobody gives food, or you all give plenty of food and it moves pretty far. And so then moving your workers around, picking where you want to put your actions, it's a very solid Euro game, but at the same time, the theme makes sense because you are moving to different spots to build artwork. You are getting food to pay for your workers. You are moving things, and seeing the pyramid built in front of your eyes is a good visual cue to seeing something being built. So while I'm not as normally a fan of this theme, here it works really well, and I think this game does an excellent job of showing it. So Giza the Great Pyramid, I would classify it as a medium weight Euro game, and it's a very good one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.